Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and once a month I'd like to do a new thing where I talk about art in the news. And today I'm starting with an oldie but a goodie. So, one of my favorite quotes by Mark Twain is, "Many a small thing has been made large by the right kind of advertising." So, imagine if you will, it's Sunday, August 20th, 1911, and you decide you want to go on an outing to the local museum in Paris, France. Women wore pantaloons, corset and dress. Men wore a three-piece suit with a matching waistcoat. You hop on a platform bus and you head over to the Louvre. Admission is free, which is great for every budget. Once inside, you can be inches away from every painting and every sculpture, marveling at all the works of art and all the amazing creators. Tired and done for the day, you head home. Monday morning you awake, sit down to breakfast, and open the day's newspaper. And there is nothing noteworthy. Wednesday morning, however, this isn't the same case. An article about an art theft at the Louvre. The Mona Lisa had been stolen. What was the Mona Lisa? You'd never heard of her. She wasn't something anybody talked about. Reading further into the article, you discover that she is one of the smaller works of art by Leonardo da Vinci, depicting a woman sitting, arms folded at three-quarter profile. Had we actually seen this in the museum days prior? Probably not. At the time, it wasn't the most famous of his paintings. It wasn't even the most famous painting at the Louvre. So, the Louvre shuts down for an entire week. Upon reopening, you have to head over. You have to see what the fuss is about. You get dressed, you rush to the museum. Once inside, you follow the crowd where everyone has gathered to stare at the blank space on the wall. People have left flowers, note cards, poetry, things of love for the missing Mona Lisa. From the time this painting was actually stolen to the time it had actually been reported, 28 hours had passed. Nobody even knew it was missing. At the time, paintings were being removed one by one and photographed and cataloged for the museum. They were actually being taken up to the roof for natural light because the lighting inside wasn't ideal for their cameras. So how was this noticed? A smaller painter was in the museum and he asked about this painting and asked when it was going to be returned to its spot on the wall. Everyone looked around, realized it wasn't one of the ones being photographed, and thus it went missing. So, month after month, article after article, newspaper after newspaper, from local to international. This made news all over the world. Everyone was talking about the Mona Lisa and her absence. This was seen as a mark of shame for the country. The Mona Lisa was a celebrity overnight. It was all anybody could talk about. The newspapers began to offer rewards for her return. A year had gone by. 18 months had gone by. Many people had been accused of stealing her. Initially, they thought it was a one-man job. At one point, they thought Pablo Picasso had stolen her. It was a mess. Turns out, after 28 months, over 2 years later, she was finally returned. She was stolen by 3 men, 2 brothers, and another gentleman who had actually installed the protective glass that encased the painting, so he had actually worked for the museum. Where was she this whole time? She was in a false bottom of a trunk in one of the gentlemen's homes for 2 years. She had become so famous, so fast, that they couldn't sell her or give her to anybody. There wasn't anything they can do because everybody was talking about her. It was the painting had become too hot, so to speak. So, what had actually happened? These men thought that Napoleon had stolen this piece. and they wanted to return it to its rightful owner in Italy. So they contacted an art dealer in Florence and said, hey, we'd like to sell this to you. And he said, okay, let me have it authenticated by a museum owner I know. Why don't you go back home and we'll do that. He went back home. Within a half an hour, received a knock on his door. It was the police. They arrested him. And the rest is sort of history. Now this museum got to sit in the Uffizi Gallery for a couple weeks before it was turned back to the Louvre. So it did spend some time in Italy in a museum. Now, this painting is to never be ignored ever again. She now sits behind bulletproof glass with a wooden protective burial rail and stanchion all around her. So things have been thrown at her. Somebody tried to attack her with a knife. There's been a bunch of things. So now she is very, very protected. This is the most famous painting in the world. It is considered the most expensive painting in the world. It is not a particularly large painting. And one of my favorite facts about the Mona Lisa is that that's not the name of this painting. The name of this painting is actually La Gioconda, which means light-hearted woman. So this isn't even actually called the Mona Lisa. And when you go to visit, this is what it looks like. They have set up new rules. People are to form a line in a queue. Everybody gets about 30 seconds to look at her, and then the next group rolls in, kind of like looking at the Sistine Chapel. So, what happened with the Mona Lisa is that the news talked about this and talked about this. The thief received 8 months in prison. The trial was heavily publicized, but then World War I broke out. And that immediately took over all the news and newspapers. But at the time, this was the most talked about, the most popular thing. People came in thousands to look at this missing painting, to see the 4 hooks on the wall. All the art, all the love letters she has received in her time. All the things that she is now printed on. She is one of the most mass-produced images on other products in the world. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.